Hiya. Monday morning, July 29th. I just got up, I don't know, an hour or so ago. It rained overnight, which was nice because it's just been scorching, sunny, hottish around here lately. It hasn't rained for a while, so that was a nice surprise. I do. Come on over to my Discord server where people can comment and post things that they want to talk about. Talk about the orb, talk about anything. I don't care. Well, no, I do care. Send me an email though, so I can send you an invite to the Discord server. And you can email me through my website, occasionalfeelgood.com, and I will post that in my video. Come on over. We've got 24 people in there already. I just opened it a couple days ago and people are coming in, so we'll have some fun. Now, today I'm going to talk about this. The finest orb moment, in my opinion. How much do we love the orb? We love them a lot, right? I know I do. I can't, if I were to sit back and count all of the hundreds or thousands of hours that I've spent listening to the orb or remixes from the orb, I mean, it would be well beyond what I could count. I can't count that high though. I can only count to like 50, and then beyond that. I mean, I think there are 50 stars in the sky, right? 50 stars in the sky. I think there are maybe 50 cars in the world, 50 cities. I mean, that's it. I can't count past 50. So, but this is a great album and their best, in my humble opinion. And this is a unique version of this release, and I hope that you guys enjoyed seeing this unique version. It's early in the morning. The words will come to me. But man, I love this record. This represents so much for me. This came out in 92, I want to say, the summer of 92. That sounds about right. I just turned 20. And so I know I talk about this a lot on my channel, but I think music, how it resonates, has a lot to do with how old you are, what you're going through in your own personal life. Those kinds of things matter. And this album came out when I had just turned 20. So, man, in 1992, it's one of the greatest years I've ever had with music. I mean, there was just so much great stuff coming out, especially in the electronic world, just so much brilliant shit coming out. You couldn't keep up with it. It was crazy. Every single day there was just an onslaught of new stuff, and it was all fresh and new and subversive and different. It was just a very exciting time for music, and this is one of the centerpieces of that movement, I think, because this album was legitimate. It was both underground, but then it was really popular, at least in the UK. In fact, one of the songs from this album, I think, got to #1 in the UK. Am I wrong about this? I'm trying to remember this correctly, but I'm pretty sure Blue Room got to #1. It was the longest single of all time at that time. It was 40 minutes. And I'll talk about that in a minute because I have the single for that. But this is the album that Blue Room came from. And this is their greatest album, in my opinion. This lineup of Alex Patterson and Chris Weston, aka Thrash, Thomas Fellman is also on here. The guys from Slam are also on here. The Scottish duo, and I think Slam is still around. So they had some people, flitting in and out of this record, but it was mainly Patterson and Weston. And I've talked about before how I think the Weston years of the Orb are the best years of the Orb. Weston just brought something really awesome and fresh to this sound, and this is their best album, in my opinion. This is just so good, man. And this really is not an ambient album. It has touches and flashes of ambience, but it's really not. It's a dub and techno album. And God, is it good. Man, it's good. I mean, I talked about this with Thomas Fellman. I've mentioned this before as well, but I interviewed Thomas Fellman when I worked for Discogs, and we both talked about that, about how the Orb, they had just released Chill Out World, and I was interviewing him for that, and just we talked a little bit about the background of the Orb, but we both talked about how Chill Out World was the most ambient thing the Orb had ever done. They've never really released a pure ambient album. They're known to be an ambient band, but they're really not an ambient band. They have, again, flashes of ambience, but the Orb really, I mean, you can think of many, many other bands that are far more ambient than the Orb. And this really isn't an ambient album. The first Out of Body Experience, the first song on here, is the most ambient thing you find on here. Everything else is like this is a dance album, really, at its heart. Lots of dub and house and techno. That's what you get here. And man, it's all the better for it. This is a fucking brilliant album. It never gets old, ever. Just love this album. And this is the limited edition. I pulled this out of that mystery box a couple weeks ago. If you dig back a few weeks back, you'll see that I did that mystery box video. This was in there. I have another copy of this that's open, and I did look for that for the purposes of this video, but I can't find it. It's somewhere, but I can't find it. I'm leaving this sealed. I'm going to leave a little mystery here, but I will tell you what's in here, and you can go look it up. Go look it up on Discogs. You can go find this version and everything that's inside it if it really matters to you. I think most people who watch my channel, they don't care about seeing actual records. Some of you do, most of you don't. But this isn't a PVC sleeve, it's sealed. I mean, I've never seen another release quite like this. It's, yeah, it's totally sealed in this plastic sleeve. Really cool. And this came out in different versions. I have one that has a black cover, and then I have one that has a green plastic cover. And there's one, I can't remember how they're all distributed, but I think one of them has a live album but no art prints, and then the other one has the art prints and no live album. And then this blue one has everything. It's got the art prints and the live album. Which, by the way, the live album, it's not worth having. Trust me, it's not. It's not a good recording. It's like an hour long, and it's only one record, so they cram like a half an hour of music onto each side. It's not a particularly good pressing or recording. I would not recommend that live album. I don't think it's all that great. I think it's called Patterns and Textures or something. Yeah, Adventures Beyond the Ultra World, Patterns and Textures video soundtrack. That's the free live album. Skip it. If you ever were inclined to pick this up. It's not a good incentive to pick this up. The art prints are cool. There are two of them in here. And then the cover of the album that's in here is just the normal cover that, that's on the cover of all the other releases. I thought this would be more interesting anyway because this is a unique release. But, man, what a fantastic album. It's hard to explain the kind of impact this record had. Because again, it was cool to us that were buying all the underground records and we're into the rave scene and acid house and we're thriving on this underground, prolifically subversive sound. It was also really popular, like, people, the top 40 audience were being exposed to this. So it was just a weird combination of events. Like, think about it. I mean, this album was in the top 5, 10, whatever it was in the UK. This was on top 40 radio. I think this is part of the reason why maybe I subconsciously always kind of gravitated toward British music. I know most of my videos are about artists that come from the UK. And I never thought about it much until I started doing this channel, actually. A lot of you are like, you only do videos about people in the UK, and that's true. The majority of my record collection are UK artists, and I think it's that the UK listener seems to be more open to a wide genre of music. Here in America, that doesn't happen. This being in the top 40, are you kidding? That would never happen here. Everything is so fucking homogenized in top 40 radio in the United States. It's a joke. But in the UK, they just seem they're more open to that crossover. And there's more eclectic music penetrating the top 40. And that's interesting to me. I don't know. It's just, I guess it's maybe a unconscious psychological thing, but I don't know. The UK is just way, way more, they're more perceptive to different angles and perspectives. In the United States, are you kidding? Eclectic music in the top 40? Are you fucking serious? Yeah, it doesn't happen. Hasn't happened for years. So that is kind of an interest point for me, is that kind of approach to music in general. But UF Orb, I just think is a perfect album. There's nothing wrong with this record. Again, it starts off with Out of Body Experience, and then it goes to UF Orb, which is just like this full-on house track, house techno track. You flip it over, Blue Room happens, and this is the edited version. It's only 17 minutes long. I'll talk about that in a minute. Then you go to side 3, and it's got Towers of Dub, and that's like 15 minutes long. That's a longer version than you find on the 12-inch that I talked about in my previous Orb video. Then you flip it over and you get Majestic and Close Encounters, which are just straight up house and techno tracks. Beautiful stuff. And then the last song, Sticky End, is just like this 1 minute, interlude of cows farting in a pasture, and then it's it. The perfect way to end an album, as far as I'm concerned. A bunch of cows farting. Shows the sense of humor of the Orb, which was priceless, and despite their childish sense of humor, which by the way I love childish sense of humor. You won't find a sense of humor that's more childish than mine. Fart and poop jokes, bring them on. I love them all. By the way, when has a fart ever not been funny in history? That's just farting is the universal language of humor. Doesn't matter what country you're in. Somebody farts and you're laughing. Farts don't need translators. And that is why farts are the greatest. But this is a perfect album, I think. I listen to it now and I actually look for things that sound dated. It just doesn't happen. I've had this album in my life for 32 years, and it just somehow just gets better. The best Orb moment. Yeah, I know plenty of you are going to disagree with me. Well, this is my channel, and these are my opinions. This is my favorite album. If you disagree, then go start your own channel and start talking about your own shit. This is my favorite. So these are records that I think are absolutely essential to the UF Orb experience. And if you don't have these, then I'm perplexed, because come on, what are you doing? And there was really only one single from this album, and it's this. Oh my God. How beautiful is this single? This is the 12-inch for Blue Room. All 40 minutes of it. At the time, and maybe still, the longest single ever to chart in the UK. UK peeps, am I getting that right? Has anybody surpassed that since? Beautiful song. This song came out before the album. This is the song we got to hear as the anticipation grew for UF Orb. This is what we had, and God, was it good. It still is. And you have to, if you love UF Orb and you don't have the Blue Room 12-inch, what the hell are you doing? You've got to have this. This is part and parcel, man. This is the full 40-minute version. You get an additional Jah Wobble bass line, who, by the way, he plays bass on this. You get 20 more minutes of Blue Room. And when I say 20 more minutes, I mean in addition to the album version. It's a different version in itself anyway. When this charted, and I read about it at the time, I never got to see it, but thanks to YouTube in the intervening years, I've been able to see this on YouTube. Thrash and Patterson, when they were on Top of the Pops, they just sat there playing chess. That was their performance while Blue Room played in the background. I always thought that was just brilliant. They didn't care. They're like, we're just going to play the song and play chess. And they were, you could tell that the people who were filming it were desperately trying to make it look hip and high energy. But no, it was just these two dudes sitting on stage playing chess. It's really funny. Um, I mean, honestly, one of the most punk rock moments I think that I've ever seen on television anywhere. Two dudes just sitting there playing chess while their song plays in the background. I mean, just an utter fuck you to the music industry. Like, yeah, we're not performing, we're not lip syncing, we're not synthesizer syncing. We're just gonna fucking sit on our fat hairy asses and play chess. Fuck this shit. How beautiful is that? Arguably the greatest Top of the Pops performance of all time. Blue Room. Get this. God, I can't even imagine people not having this if they love UF Orb. Here's some labels. Ah, God, what a great song. What a great song. One of my all-time faves. And I know I say that every single time I do a video, but that's what I talk about here on my channel. I talk about my all-time faves. It's possible to have 1,000 all-time faves. Maybe someday I'll rank my all-time faves, but this is one of them. I absolutely think this is the highlight of the album, and the UF Orb has plenty of highlights, but this could be the highlight. I'm going to hold this up. This is the US edition of Blue Room. It's got some different tracks on here. You get a little sticker there. Now mine's a promo. I don't think I've ever noticed that. I'm sure I got this through one of the DJ pools I was in at the time. Yeah, you get the Frank De Wolf mix. Frank De Wolf is, I think he's Belgian. Am I right about this? Belgian, right? He was a dude in the 90s who made, in my opinion, kind of cheesy, trancy techno. I was never really into him, but he does a great remix of this. Just kind of makes a techno version out of it. But I never saw that Frank De Wolf mix pop up anywhere in the UK. Maybe it did, but I don't remember seeing it. You have to have this US 12-inch to find it. I think it might have been on the US edition of the CD, too. Here in the United States, they released UF Orb on 2 CDs. The album was on the first CD, and the second CD had the full Blue Room version. It had this remix, and then it had the other track on here, Assassin, which is excellent. Love Assassin. That's what you get on the B side. The A side, you get the Frank De Wolf mix, and then you get an ambient edit called Excerpt 606, which is a different mix of Blue Room, just an ambient mix. And then you get the full version of Assassin on this US edition. And Assassin is awesome. Assassin's not on the album. And Assassin is just the single. There's the label, by the way. Assassin is the single they put out right after UF Orb. It was not on the album. It was not on any album. It was just a single-only action. And that single is right here. And I will show that. Excellent 12-inch. Again, if you're going to have UF Orb, you've got to have this. Assassin. And you get a remix of UF Orb from Bandulu. Bandulu was an excellent, excellent techno band that existed in the early, well, throughout the 90s. And they had a bunch of different names. I'm trying to think. God, I swear to God, I have a whole box of Bandulu records. Bandulu's first album is called Guidance, which is brilliant. One of my favorite techno records, without a doubt. They put out, I think their second album is called Antimatters, which is brilliant. Awesome record. Then I think the third album is called Cornerstone. I apologize if I'm forgetting this stuff, but they have tons of singles. They release things under different names. I want to say one of their different names was Blank, was it Mass or something? Black, something, I can't remember. There was Space DJs. Oh my God. Space DJs, some excellent music from Space DJs. They had various names. There were 3 guys that were in Bandulu, and the 3 individuals would kind of branch off and do their own thing. I highly recommend you check out Bandulu. But anyway, they remix UF Orb on the B-side. I think. God, am I not remembering this right? Okay, yeah. Sometimes I'm so sure of something in my head, and then later I'm like, oh wait, that wasn't true at all. That happens as you get older. Assassin. This is just like a straight up techno track. There's really nothing much ambient about this. Yeah, it's got little tiny flashes of ambience, but I think there's an argument that a lot of techno and house music has flashes of ambience. I mean, you could make that argument for any kind of electronic music that doesn't have a beat to it every single second. This is just straight up techno, man. Orb. Honestly, Orb is more of a techno band than they are ambient band in my view. Again, they always have that flash of ambience in most places, but yeah, the vast majority of what the Orb have done in their career is techno, I think. Always has that dub element to it, but man, this is one of their best. And again, this is Chris Weston era, thrash, a brilliant and forgotten producer. Dude had talent, man, serious talent. And this is a seriously good 12 inch. And these 12 inches all emanate. Uh-oh, I'm blurring up here. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Sorry, this camera starts blurring up and I can't fix it until I do all kinds of shit. But anyway, I'm wrapping up here anyway. UF Orb. Go check this record out. Go listen to it again. As always, I think plenty of you have already heard this. If you're here and you found this channel, you already know what this is. You know how brilliant this is. Go put it on again. We've been loving this for 32 years now. Go listen. Go enjoy. UF fucking Orb. Electronic records don't get much better than this. One of the best. Absolutely one of the best. Again, email me. occasionalfeelgood.com. Come join my Discord. And we will have frank and honest and lovely conversations. Goodbye.